I think maybe the best game of the slate. Number 19, Illinois, going to Happy Valley. Number 9, Penn State. James Franklin wants white out energy.
Yes.
It's exactly what he said in the press conference. He said, white out, ... energy.
Yeah.
He didn't say the dots, but which I think means that the students are going to show up wearing white on Saturday night. So this is a 7:30 kick on NBC. Penn State an 18-point favorite. Yeah. So sorry, I cut you off. What were you going to say?
Oh, that's okay. I think more than just the students are going to be wearing white. I was a little surprised at first seeing the line come out, and maybe that was just because I got done watching the Illinois-Nebraska highlights. I actually didn't get to watch that game live. But yeah, I was a little surprised when that line came out. I was not expecting it to be so high. I think Luke Altmaier has the opportunity to really frustrate some Penn State fans. And boy, he's looked completely different from last year. If you remember back, I won't go so far to say that he handed Penn State the game, but he was really kind to keep giving us the ball whenever they were on offense last year. And this was when Penn State really couldn't do much on offense. So I think, yeah, Luke Altmaier looks like a totally different player. And I think, yeah, Pat Bryant, Zachariah Franklin, Illinois has a great chance to win this game. And I think they will keep it close for quite some time. There's also, on the Penn State side, there's a few injuries that I'm curious to see how they play into effect in the game. I think I'm curious to see what our secondary is going to look like going up against that receiver duo without having KJ Winston. We have a backup tight end, Andrew Rappelier, who's a freshman. I think he's a redshirt freshman, who is actually supposed to be one of our better blocking tight ends, along with Tyler Warren, and he's also out for a good bit. James Franklin isn't saying a season-ending injury, I don't think, but I think he's calling them all long-term injuries, so we'll see what that means. So I think especially if Penn State's receivers struggle to get open, I think without having – I don't know. Penn State's run game has looked really good. Their offense has looked great. The schemes are – like people are open running down the field, which is a great sight for a Penn State fan because we have not seen that. But yeah, I think that Illinois has a great chance to win this game. I think they will keep it close, but I think Penn State's going to pull away late. I do predict another slow start for Penn State because that is what we've seen this year. But I think they heated up a little bit in the second half, and I think Penn State's going to start pulling away late to win it 31-17 at home.
All right, so you got 31-17. Illinois covers there.
Illinois covers, yes.
Yeah. So I agree with everything that you said, and I think this is easily a fourth quarter game that I think Penn State puts out of reach, maybe with 3 minutes left in the game. Like that, I just think for the Penn State fans, if you're thinking that, well, Illinois is Illinois of the past, like Illinois has the personnel and the player, like not just the personnel, but the right players at the right positions to beat Penn State, even if Penn State plays their best game. Like if Illinois has the type of game, I shouldn't say if Penn State plays their best game. I think if Penn State plays a B+ game, Illinois can beat Penn State.
Sure. Because
I think I think the receivers have improved for Penn State, but that secondary for Illinois is nasty. I think Xavier Scott might be one of the best corners in the country. You know, they've had at least three different secondary guys have picks in that secondary. Frustrated Raiola. Although Raiola had a decent game against them, but I mean, certainly frustrated Raiola a bit against Nebraska. I think the other thing that you have to realize too is that while I think Penn State's secondary is good, they have key losses in that secondary. This receiving duo of Zachariah Franklin and Pat Bryant is legit. And throw in their tight end as well, who had a good game against Nebraska. This is going to be a formidable passing attack. And Altmaier, He can scramble. He can buy time in the pocket. I think Illinois' offensive line and their pass blocking in particular has really improved. So they're keeping him clean. So, like, this is a game where I agree with you. I think Penn State fans are going to be frustrated for a lot of this game. And I think Altmaier has the talent, and I think that has matured enough where I think he can pull off the upset. What I saw on Saturday, though, and I know it was Kent State, I know it's cupcakes, man. Penn State might very well be like the number 2 team in the Big Ten, like jockeying with Oregon. And I don't think they're that far away from Ohio State. That D line, and like as good as I just talked about Illinois' offensive line, Denai Dennis Sutton, Abdul Carter, Zane Durant, like those boys can play. And I mean, they knocked out the quarterback in the second play of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't want to laugh about injury, but it was just like, oh my gosh, like that's what you're bringing? Okay. The linebackers, Tony Rojas, like them boys, they fly to the ball. The secondary, they've got depth. So even though Winston's out, like they've got depth at the safety position, they got depth at the corner position. They have, and they've always been good there. Like, I mean, they've just churned it out. And then I think the other thing that I'm not convinced that the receiving room is elite or even great, but I think it's good enough, especially with Andy Kotelnicki pulling the strings. So I think it's 24-20 late. I think Penn State gets a defensive stand, and then Drew Aller leads a drive that puts it out of reach with about 3 minutes left. I got 31-20. So we're I think you had 31-17. I have 31-20.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure. I think this is another game where at the end, as Penn State fans, you're really, really thankful for Andy Kotelnicki, especially looking back in the last couple of years. So
yeah, he's a good one. He's a really good one.